Hey, what's going on, man? It's your man, Big Kenney, live from the UGT, and it's Guy Showtime Gridiron Edition. It is really, really interesting that for what had to be the last um, 50 minutes or so, um, I haven't been sure if I've been actually live with my man, um, Chris Pugh. I see that now there are three people watching. Okay, bruh.
No, we
I'm
live.
not sure exactly what we've been doing, but my man Rodney Perry, what's going on, Rodney? I'm glad you're here, bro. Welcome to the UGT, the Underground Treehouse. This is Guy
Yeah,
Show Gridiron Edition. It is the football week that was, and tonight we will be discussing the Celebration Bowl, uh, which was the Black College championship between Jackson State University and the University and South Carolina State Bulldogs. We will be focusing on the game behind us, which is the Minnesota Vikings and the Chicago Bears. Bear down, City of Chicago, stand up, stop the violence. And this evening, I'm fortunate to have a very dear friend of mine. He's a fraternity brother. He's a hilarious comedian. He's an awesome dad. He's a fantastic husband, and he's a very dear friend of mine. Professor at the College of Education at Georgia Southern. Everybody, welcome Marion Christopher Pugh. I call him Chris. So if y'all hear me say, "Hey, Chris," don't be like he disrespecting the doctor. So thank you, bro. I appreciate you coming on, man. Thank you so much.
it's my pleasure, man. Good to be here, man. I'm glad to see you, man.
Thank you very much, Brett. Now, to anyone who has joined us, Chris and I have been having a conversation live, or so we thought, for what had to be about 50 minutes. And I want
Straight up.
generally this starts at 8 o'clock. We do a football recap of the
Hmm.
week with some past games, and then we focus on the current game. But this is my second time going live, and now I'm incorporating someone to join me. Admittedly, as transparent as I could be, I don't be doing this, bruh. Usually, I don't want people to see what I'm doing in real time. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I usually keep that part of my life private, but for a Guy Show Gridiron Edition, we will do this.
Hmm.
And the reason I'm so honored to have Chris with me tonight is admittedly, with the Celebration Bowl, I cover sports regularly. I'm a co-host on the Sports Talk Show with Wayne Gandy, AM 1100 here in Atlanta on iHeartRadio. You can catch us. And I watch and cover big time sports all the time, professional level, college, high school level. And I'm familiar with the somebody's got to win, somebody's got to lose. I'm very, very in touch with the spirit of competition and
Hmm.
all of the sweat, blood, tears, and determination and effort that it takes to get to that level. But I
Right.
have to admit that I was caught off guard by the amount of energy people put into the Celebration Bowl. And it wasn't all positive energy. A lot of it was
Hmm.
some energy that caught me off guard. Now, um, admittedly, what I wanted to touch on was the mindset, the morale, and the motivation behind the quote unquote
Right.
fanatic. Fanatic is derived from fan is derived from fanatic. And for the Celebration Bowl, as I said earlier to you, I have a unique connection to the Celebration Bowl because my wife, Dr. What's her name, is Jackson State alumni, and she's generational Jackson State
Hmm.
alumni. She's got
Hmm.
like a grandfather that went to Jackson State and an uncle that played football at Jackson State. Her parents, I believe, met at Jackson State. Then she
Hmm.
graduated. We've got a daughter going to Jackson State when she graduates in the springtime. So the roots there run deep. She made a lot of solid friendships. Those people were here this weekend, and the effect of the loss on them was something that I rarely get to see up close from
Hmm.
people that close to the program. Um, the effect on the collective as a whole was something that I had not seen. It wasn't just the regular trash talk. There was a lot of vitriol back and forth. And
Hmm.
to watch the emotions play out like that. One of my wife's friends, Saturday night after the game, turned in about 7:30. The next morning, I'm an early riser. We're in the kitchen having a conversation. And she was like, I was just emotionally exhausted from that.
Right.
There was
Right.
so much more riding on that game. And I wanted to address with you the political, the religious, the emotional attachment that people
Hmm.
have, not just to football, but why is it that the Black college football experience drive or drove this type of sentiment?
Well, the funny thing is, when we started talking about HBCU and black college football, at the very beginning of the title, race is mentioned. And
Right,
you can't mention race without politics and religion because all of it is intertwined. So when you have historically black colleges and black college football, you're dealing with politics, you're dealing with religion, you're dealing with belief systems, and you're dealing with education and miseducation behind the whole system of it all. You have people who are emotionally invested based off what they feel and what they've been told, and you have other people invested based off what they found out for themselves.
right.
And you
My
got a
man Rodney
lot of,
Perry says it's personal.
oh
Uh,
yeah,
yeah, it's
yeah,
and
it's
that's how my wife's friends
mhm,
and she viewed it. I went to a PWI. So
right.
for
Me
me,
too.
it was, bet you can't party like we do. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? There was no my granddaddy. I mean, I'm sure my granddaddy was as far away from a predominantly white institution as he could get.
Straight
You
facts.
understand?
Yeah,
But me,
yeah.
I was on some, y'all know that we got 3 cafeterias on campus. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Those were the things that were exciting to me about my college experience,
Right.
is the fact that
Right.
they would give our fraternity the university van with a gas card. Bet y'all can't
That's,
do that at Jackson State. Well, actually, no, you couldn't because they didn't have a van. You see what I'm saying? We were
I
just
understand.
riding road trip in university
Right.
vans. So, but
Right. Right. Right.
to see someone whose mother met her daddy on campus
Hmm.
kind of thing. You know
Hmm.
what I'm saying? Whose
Hmm. Hmm.
granddad, whose uncle worked there. All of that to see it that deep, it runs deep. It is very, very
It's
personal
emotional.
and
Yeah.
it's very emotional. And now,
Hmm.
how do you account for the people who don't have that connection? There are some people who came here from Jackson that are on the campus at Jackson State all the time, but they don't take any
Hmm.
classes. They've never enrolled. They've never had anybody else enroll, but they're just connected to
Right.
um, the adulation, all of the
Right.
excitement that's coming out of the city of Jackson.
Right. Right. Right.
How do you account for the fandemonium of those people?
Well, we may not have a lot of people who are personally attached to a university or or the sports team at a university, but you have people who are politically and financially attached to the
Okay,
university or school. So
right,
you have a lot of people who invest not only just money but time and energy behind something that they're not even associated with. I can be a fan of a school I've never even went on their campus. Like I like Southern University. I like Grambling. You know what I'm saying? Because I had got exposed to those schools in undergrad. Jackson
right,
State was another school I got
right,
exposed to when I was in middle school.
right,
I can cheer on certain things based off how they made you feel or a memory associated with that school. Even if you never paid tuition, never been there, something happened where you say, you know what, I'm gonna be a fan of that school. Don't even know why. When somebody asks me, hell, sometimes I don't even know how to explain it. But you have some people who have had blood, sweat, and tears where historically, if someone's grandmother helped build one of the buildings, that she laid bricks there, that person is going to root for that team. And if anybody says anything bad about their school, they're going to feel that somebody's disrespecting their grandmother.
right,
You see what I'm saying? So there's different levels of attachment with any school. And if you really look at it, when it comes down to education, it's a spiritual aspect to education in itself. When you start dealing with education, you're dealing historically that some people did not have access to it. So when
Right.
you start dealing with school pride, hey, you're not dealing when you're dealing with education, you're not dealing with equality because everyone does not have the same playing field. You
Right.
just yeah, from just talking about it, I went to a school, we had a lot of resources, and up the street, you may have a HBCU or another private school who didn't have those resources, and you have a divide between that as well. So it's just a lot. It's a lot of different factors, a lot of different levels of passion and investment when it come down to sports in general. But when you start adding religion, race, and politics to it, it's a powder keg. And that's how we see how it can erupt on social media or erupt at a bar or erupt in someone's home when someone says the wrong thing about someone's team. All of a sudden, the conflict arises because whatever they're arguing, even if they don't cognitively understand why they're so mad, emotionally it's going to be behind their words. I've seen people say, your school did something to my uncle. You get sent up there like, dude, I don't even,
I don't
what
even
are
know
you
my
talking?
uncle, bro.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah. And think about this. When you start dealing with these colleges, you're dealing with history of mistreatment based off certain folks,
Right.
you know?
Now, uh,
Yeah.
to that end, I want to thank Brown Girl Beauty for joining. Keep laughing. I appreciate you, my man Rodney Perry. Thank you for
Ready,
joining and
Perry.
thank you for your comment. We are talking today to my man Chris Pugh, Dr. Mary and Christopher Pugh of Manhood Mindset Professor at the College of Education at Georgia
Mhm.
Southern. He, Chris, this was the thing with um, with the flipping of Travis Turner, with the chatter that came from the predominantly white Power Five conferences on how unfair that was.
Mhm.
That was, I
Mhm.
think, hypocritical. There was a coach, there was a commentator, a broadcaster.
Mhm.
Now, being in the business, I understand that the information that we get on these people is given to us, well researched.
Mhm.
And this man called Deion Sanders the coach of Jacksonville State University. What made it even more
Mhm.
egregious is he didn't make a retraction. He didn't say, "Oh, I misspoke." He just let it ride.
Right.
Um,
Mhm.
there is a racial element to it, and I get
Mhm.
confused when the racial element gets added, but it's not, in my opinion, equitable.
Mhm.
RG3 commentated the celebration ball. He commentated, I believe, the SWAC champion. And I think he is the absolute worst person in the world to be commentating black sports. Number
Mhm.
one, he's only, in my opinion, African American in appearance. You
Mm.
understand what I'm saying? Uh,
Okay.
his experience with the collective. I think he played at Oregon. Uh, you know, might have some out there
Mhm.
that's not black. But what offended me most were his racial and racist, his racial tropes and his racist comments. There was a
Mhm.
play during the kickoff. Jackson State was receiving the ball. South Carolina State kicked off. They were running. The runner had the ball tucked. Guy from South Carolina, defender, sticks his arm out, catches him in the neck, flips him. Everybody said,
Mhm.
"Oh man, that looks like a clothesline. He clothesline. I don't see a call on that." And RG3 commented, he was probably trying to snatch his chain. Now, now, had um had a Terry Bradshaw said that, had a Kirk Herbstreit said that during the Black National College Championship, he would have
Mhm.
been canceled and everyone would have wanted him to make an apology and be fired.
Mhm.
And why do we accept less than that from a face that looks like
Mhm. Man, I will tell you what I've observed. I've observed people. Well, put like this. Everyone knows the statement, all of us ain't us, and all your people ain't your people. You know what I
uh,
mean? I don't know RG3 personally, so I won't comment on him personally, but I can say that I observed people who are, when they get into the spotlight or get promoted to a certain spot, they do have a tendency to try to prove their loyalty by disassociating themselves away from people that they have been described to be the same as. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like I see, and honestly, I see it in corporate America all the time. It's full of, and a lot of people don't understand, and I didn't understand for a long time. Corporate America is not about being the best you can be. It's about aligning yourself with who's in charge and who's in power. It's not
Right.
about professionalism. It's about power only. And you've seen people who sacrifice their culture, their own personality, by doing things to be accepted by the mainstream. And and honestly, I've seen people who, when they don't know what to do, they do too much and not enough at the same time. When people don't know what to say, they say too much and they don't say enough at the same time. So when you saw that comment, when you heard that comment, and he felt the need to have to say that, um, the best thing that I do, man, is when people say things like that and we know it doesn't make sense. I always love to ask that person, why did they think it was okay to say that? And then the first thing you already say, man, I was just playing. I didn't mean nothing by it. But I will tell
Right.
you this. I will tell you this. Regardless of who you are, when you know you're on TV and you're getting paid to commentate, you are very careful with your words.
Well,
Very.
and to that end is where my insult, where my sensibilities were insulted.
Hmm.
It takes
Hmm.
a high level of willful and deliberate intent for me to feel
Right.
you've slighted me, because honestly, I'm just not that connected to people that aren't
Right.
a concern on a daily
Right.
basis. You understand that
Right.
may be a defense mechanism for me, but
Hmm.
if you don't matter, then it don't matter to me.
Hmm.
But to
Hmm.
see someone that I know had been told, the
Hmm.
other commentators started going, I'm not
Oh
touching that
yeah.
one, or man, you're
Oh
such a card. So
man.
you knew that you were being out the box. You knew that you were
Hmm.
being far more than tongue in cheek.
Hmm.
And I just
Hmm.
don't
Hmm.
understand how we would. And he did it in the, I believe it was the SWAC championship that he was covering. The bands
Hmm.
were doing that thing, and he goes, "Yeah, they be juking and a jive,
Mm. Mm.
juking and I
Mm.
mean both of them. We juking
Mm.
and we jiving. Come on, bro. Now,
I will put like I will I would.
I've been known to juke a time or two, but for me to juke and jive simultaneously, sir,
Right.
that is that harkens back to you know
Right.
what I mean? That's what pops
Bamboozle.
up in my mind when someone says
Man
they
tab.
be a juking and a jive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now,
Yeah. Yeah.
had
Yeah.
he been
That's right
again,
up. That's right up there with fiddling.
that's yes, sir. I'd agree, sir. Right up there with fiddling, but I plays a mean fiddle, sir. But if had he been a white person, we would have been moved to act.
Hmm.
This we
Hmm.
just kind of, and the thing is, do we let it slide because he looks like us? And come on, man, we
Hmm.
got enough problems. Or
I will put. I will put it like this. We are so used to people overcompensating on TV to be accepted. I think some of us have become either desensitized to it or just know it'll never stop. So we put like this. I know I don't like saying people. I don't like speaking on folks if they're not there to defend themselves. But
right,
I'll speak generally. I've watched some sports shows, man. When you just look at the person, I was like, you got to be getting paid to say that about your own folks. At
right,
this point, you can't. You don't have that much pain and passion to speak down on folks that's quote unquote your folks without it being an incentive for you to do so.
right,
And just like I said before, in corporate America, sports is fun, but it's incorporated. It's a business at the end of the day. And when you're dealing with business, you're dealing with power. And when you're
right,
dealing with power, you're going to have some people who buckle under that power all the time just so they can get, safety, job security,
right,
acceptance, social acceptance,
right.
status, class upgrade, all of these different things. Because I'm going to be honest with you, after he probably said something that was egregious to his quote unquote own folks, somebody pulled him to the side and told me he did an amazing job.
I can imagine.
Somebody somebody rewarded
And
him for doing that.
that's the thing. And without one of us, quote unquote, checking him, he may
Hmm.
never know, and he may
Right.
constantly keep behaving that way, thinking that he's moving us forward. Now,
Right.
since we got on the political angle of football,
Right.
we've seen in just the recent past 4 or 5 seasons the Colin
Hmm.
Kaepernick um,
Right.
be ostracized and then him come back even stronger. And he's still not in the NFL. And we've seen the comparison to slavery with black athletes, and particularly the NFL. Since this is Guy Show Gridiron, live from the UGT, we're going to stick with football. That comparison is often lodged at the NFL, the slave owners and the slave. Um, can we address that to a degree? And then I would like to ask a separate question, but please, why is it that when generally, and not
Hmm.
everybody, but generally, when we think of the professional NFL football player, this
Hmm.
man is usually one of the most physically fit, well
Hmm.
adjusted, well paid, most
Hmm.
beloved, exalted individuals
Hmm.
in the country. They make
Hmm.
tens of millions of dollars. Everybody loves
Hmm.
them. Now, I I'm one of those people fortunate to have a connection to my elders. I know
Hmm.
my history back all the way to where my people come from. It's a place in Arkansas called DeRosset Farm. Now,
Hmm.
it became a sharecrop farm
Hmm.
after it was a plantation because they just
Hmm.
had to keep it running. And none of them had a Cuban link choker. None of them
Hmm.
had a deal with Nike. You see what I'm saying? It was
Right. Of
nothing like
course.
slavery. So how do
Hmm.
we make that comparison and make it make sense in this instance?
I think the similarities and sameness have to be uh, distinguished between each other. I think sometimes when we see some similarities and some things that remind us of slavery, that we can put the whole slavery trope on something. And I'm guilty of doing that too. But one thing that I have understood was slavery in itself is about power and people who don't have it at all,
Right,
about people who don't have free will, about people who cannot control where their bodies go. So I'll give you an example. There's a state, I would say, a a saying, voluntary servitude, right?
right,
When you volunteer, like when you enter the draft, when you sign a contract with the team, that's a portion of free will. However, there's elements where you don't have complete autonomy of your body, where someone can trade you
right.
overnight without even telling you. And I think to a certain extent, yeah, you might have signed up for it, but at the end of the day, to not be able to control where your bodies goes, that's eerily similar to involuntary servitude,
And
especially if
and
you.
and, and in this moment, I just thought about it. When these players get traded, a lot of times they um, you have the resources to move overnight, but you may
Hmm.
have families in this city that you were just
Hmm.
playing for, and they
Hmm.
can't go with you. So it's
Hmm.
the separation of the family because my kids are in
Right.
school.
Hmm.
My kids are here, so
Hmm.
um,
Hmm.
that uh, the killer fear said they can't hear anything. But other people are saying preach and say it big Chris. Maybe the
Hmm.
killer needs to turn their volume up. Let's see if
Possibly.
it's on their end because I hear us.
That's
I hear
Yeah, I hear
you.
us too. I
Can you
think
hear
everyone
me?
can hear us. Yeah, I can hear you. I can
Okay.
definitely hear you.
Okay.
Dave, that's
A
that's
chick
that's my
that
brother.
helps us
That's my
just
brother.
joined us, and we always love having that. You know what I'm saying? A
Right.
chick that hustles.
Jada, can you hear us? Jada just put in a smiley face, so it may be his phone specifically. That's my brother, by the way.
Okay. Oh,
So
and
he's
there's
probably
Doctor. What's the name? She says she can hear, and trust me, bro, she can hear everything, like minute,
yes.
minute sounds. She can
She
hear.
knows
She can hear.
your
She
thoughts.
can hear. She can hear the bros texting me from their house.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Who is that
Yes.
about to text you? And I'm like,
She
like,
yeah,
bing.
she hear you.
Oh,
She can
I
hear you
don't know.
smiling. She can
Right.
hear you smiling
Right.
from another room. Like, why are you smiling? You're like,
Right.
oh, I didn't
Right.
know. I didn't notice. Yeah. 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 No,
But
I
I
got you.
think we've got that cleared up. So the
Right.
killer, maybe you need to turn up your volume, sure, or let's check and see if there's any other
He
technical
still he
issues.
still has a flip phone. That's my brother. He has a flip phone. Just bypass him. Yes, he'll be fine. He'll be fine. He supports us on mute. There you
He
go.
put it
Support.
on you. Thank
Yes.
you. Thank
You.
you. Thank you.
Big day. What it do, man? Go ahead.
Uh, but
Thanks, Jada.
we were saying that the similarities and the same. So it's
Hmm.
easy to kind of compare it to slavery, and those are some similarities. We
Right.
now your family can come visit, and the family that you're leaving in the city behind is probably living a
Hmm.
pretty decent life. But
Right.
um, that is, do you think that's where people tend to make that similarity? Now,
Right.
this
Right.
is what sometimes where I reach my bear. If
Hmm.
we are to compare NFL football to slavery,
Hmm.
we'll suggest that our sons, nephews, uncles, whatever, skip a whole year or two of college to run
Hmm.
into that slavery.
Hmm.
We'll start grabbing our little boys as early as middle school and
Hmm.
pipelining them into
Hmm.
that said slavery. Is that because
Hmm.
money matters more than the pride, than the dignity?
Hmm.
How do we reconcile both? Is what I'm saying. How do we reconcile get your money, get paid with fight the power?
Well, man, I consult families and school districts, man, and I'm surrounded by people who sell their children to slavery.
Mm.
I see it every day. You have, and football is one of the things that
Not
gets
delicious. Hey,
invest.
thank you for joining. I'm sorry, Chris. Go ahead.
No, no, you're good. Football is it gets investigated so much because it's the most popular scenario. A lot of people know it's the most popular sport, makes a lot of money, known worldwide. But when you start talking about not only sports, but anything that can generate money in the present or the future, people are willing to sell their children into slavery each and every day. I mean, I work around parents who get paid off putting their children on medication when the child just needs discipline or love.
Right.
Love is a discipline if it's consistent. But you have a lot of people who say, well, my child is bad. Do you have something that can calm him down? Where he's just been yelled at since he's been here, and he doesn't understand how someone can talk to him with a calm and intentional voice. You know what I mean?
Right.
But when it comes down to football specifically, some people are very, very eager to have a popular son, to have a financially stable son, to have a son that does not mind putting family, the neighborhood, the church, whoever they got on his back because they do see him as a cash cow. And so they're looking at, especially from what I've seen in my profession, they look at little black boys as investments, not human beings.
Uh,
So they
and
know
now I want to address that, but the killer fish said he got 3 leg quarters baking in the oven right now, and I count me as one, you as one, and him as one. So I want one of them leg quarters, partner. How?
he's going, I'm telling you, man, he's going to say some things that, put like this, man, he's the reason why I had to consistently take tests over. So please don't pay attention to him. Please don't pay attention
Now,
to him.
I took that though, but it was because I did school a lot. You see what I'm saying?
Right, right. But if I put like this, the Killer Fair, he's a good joke writer. He does voiceover work. He's a really A1 dude. So if any,
Outstanding, bro. We're gonna have to collaborate on the comedic level. Now,
yeah.
this is something we've been talking about the here.
Hmm.
For those who are just joining us, welcome live to the UGT for Guys Show
Hmm.
Gridiron Edition. I'm here tonight with Chris Pugh,
Hmm.
the CEO of Manhood Mindset. Very good friend of mine, super funny comedian. He's just an overachiever. That's what I call him, dude. You know, you work at the college education as a professor, and then you go tell jokes. Like, what? Ain't that enough for you, bro? Just stop. You know what I'm saying? And then you go out and be a great human being and help other people get their lives together.
Hey
Meanwhile,
man.
it's the Christmas season. I'm at the mall breaking in cars. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Getting person.
Yeah, that's
Snatching
what I'm
person.
saying. I'm out there doing all kind of crazy stuff. So,
Yeah.
but the one of the things, and again, my unique perspective on the Celebration Bowl was that a great many Jackson State alumni are
Hmm.
my family and friends. And
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that we have been discussing since it happened, and when I say it, the hiring of a beloved uh, NFL Hall of Famer and now head coach of Jackson State, quote unquote,
Mm-hmm.
Coach Prime Deion Sanders,
Mm-hmm.
was the Deion effect. This is a
Mm-hmm.
man who has taken a program, um, literally the Cinderella story. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying?
Mm-hmm.
We're
Correct.
underachieving. We're much maligned and not very recognized. And we go 11-1. We've got
Mm-hmm.
my children playing key positions on the field. We've got
Mm-hmm.
more money, $30 million during football season poured into the Jackson economy, a city that has been traditionally struggling with the condition of their streets and their water system. They got high crime. They were listed, I believe, at 48 out of 50 states for the health of African American people. Coach
Mm-hmm.
Prime has come along and made all of that a
Mm-hmm.
distant memory. Now,
Mm-hmm.
when he lost this game, not to disparage any of the accomplishments before that, but
Right.
Jackson State got the Shador whooped out of them. You see what I'm
Okay.
saying?
Okay.
And for someone to go, aha, Prime, that wasn't your day, must be the pressure. A lot of the trash talk. People try to make it more than trash talk. They try to
Of
make it
course.
bashing HBCU. They try to make
Mm-hmm.
it demeaning our legacy when all it
Mm-hmm.
was is your man got beat over the top and your boy threw 2 or 3 picks. That happens all the time in sport.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Why do we have to put anything other than the nature of the beast onto the situation in this instance?
But like this, like I said earlier, the reason why we have to put it in there, or some people feel as though they have to put race in there, is because race is in the title. HBCU. The reason why we have HBCU is because some people were not allowed to be in certain places as other people. So you're already dealing with politics even as soon as you mention HBCU. As
Right.
soon as you mention predominantly white institution, let's look at the word. Let's look at the word predominantly white. They're letting you know where the power is. One is predominant. The other one is just historical. They're
And
telling you where the power.
and listen, the reason I still don't know why we friends, bro, because I never feel like my intelligence rises to that level. But I never thought of it. That they
Yeah,
do say we call them the PWI, but predominantly white.
predominantly
Looking
white.
up the root word predominant
Dominant.
means,
Yes.
and
Power.
then again, historic, almost speaking of it in a past tense.
Think about this. We've already said, I give you another one. The five conferences, what's the P word in front of that five conference
Power,
that everyone,
power five.
now check this out. If the number one recruit did not go to a Power Five conference and went to a HBCU, what's the main thing that people in power don't want to lose?
Power.
Power. So what they saw is a power shift. Even the people who don't have power don't like seeing power shift. People are scared of change. I don't care who you are. People in power and people outside of the power structure, everybody's scared of change. People like what's familiar. So if they see that whole change coming in Jackson, Mississippi, if they saw that big change in the whole state of Mississippi, and what a lot of people don't understand, economics is just not only about finances. Economics comes from the Greek word or the Latin word economos, meaning the law that governs all living organisms. It has to deal with laws of nature. Who gets your energy? So at the end of the day, attention is a hell of a drug. When people pour their attention, their money follows. People are looking in Mississippi when a lot of people haven't even looked in before. I'm gonna tell you this, how powerful it was. The other day, I saw Deion Sanders Jackson State sweater on. I looked it up, and I remember it used to be $20. Now it's 45, closer to $60. Why? because attention is a hell of a drug. Economics is the law that governs all human organisms, meaning the law of what? The law of attraction. Dion, what he's doing is attracting people to come there. And think about this: if I'm a Power Five school, and all of a sudden now, the people that I make money off of their backs and their name and their likeness, and all of a sudden they don't need me anymore. I put it like this: we've seen those black exploitation films. What do pimps tell their bottom girl to do? Hey, you better choose me. You better choose pimping.
If you choose
So,
wrong, you choose wrong. You know what I
and
mean?
think about this. Think about this. I've never seen a pimp ecstatic when he's not chosen.
That's true. But got my man Stir Fry just joined, and it's interesting that my man Stir Fry, another good friend of mine, uh, uh, dear friend, my brother Sterling Stewart, managed my comedy career for a number of years, is an
Yeah.
athletic director, was just at the University of Anchorage or something like that.
Hmm.
And when you talk about the Power Five and the things like that, he's
Yeah.
a good friend of the Sports Jock Show, also one of our consultants. And he had a very unique inside perspective on that Power Five
Hmm.
philosophy. Now, this is something that I always want to ask. When we have someone like a Coach Prime going
Hmm.
to a place like going to, in my analogy, a dark corner in Mississippi
Hmm.
like Jackson State, is his
Hmm.
light too bright? Does it drown out the program itself? Is he a player that's too big for the game in that? Well,
Hmm.
in that the Celebration Bowl never mentioned the coach
Hmm.
who won up until the
Hmm.
day he began
Hmm.
to beat them. Uh,
Hmm.
we have seen statistics since the Celebration Bowl that there are 4 HBCUs that have a minimum 4 Hall of Famers each from their school.
Hmm.
None of that was mentioned during the game. All of the
Hmm.
focus was on the uh, the chosen, which
Hmm.
happened to be Coach Prime. And now he's done, in my opinion, uh, his due diligence in trying to spread some of that around. But
Hmm.
because you are the one we follow, do we have to focus on you more? Because something that I saw that I am not quite sure about
Hmm.
is early in the fourth quarter, when it was obvious that Jackson State was going to lose, the
Hmm.
faithful began to lose. Now, this was still on TV. This was still national 12 o'clock game of the week. It looked questionable
Okay.
for um, it didn't look lucrative at all for the crowd to be leaving. It looked
Hmm.
fair weather fan-ish.
Right.
Um, are we more connected to the glitz and the glamour than the heritage?
For the people, I put like this: for the people who have invested heavy, you're going to see heavy commitment. The people who are invested based off emotion,
Really
you're
quick,
going to see.
quantify the investment. Are we talking about financial? Are we talking about resource? Are we talking about time and effort? Which resource are you investing? Or is it a
I,
culmination?
yeah, I would say all of the above.
Okay.
You have people who went to the school, which is also financial, and you're dealing with time and energy. Meaning, if you went to the school, paid tuition, put your body there, you possibly did community service around the city, you probably left your stamp in that city. You see what I'm saying? Blood, sweat, and tears. That's investment. Then you go into the corporate sector. You start working, or you're an entrepreneur. Say, for instance, if you invested more money back into your HBCU, like Jackson State, if you're on the alumni board and you constantly putting in back money, put it like this: if it's a family affair, if you make sure your children go to that school, now you're
Yeah.
talking about somebody who's going to be in that stands until the light go out.
Right.
They don't care what the score is because I'm so emotionally, financially, and I invested my bloodline into Jackson State.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
thinking
yeah,
about those
yeah,
type of
yeah,
people,
yeah.
right?
My
So
wife
those
and her
people are,
friends sat until they cut the lights off and the score
you
didn't
feel me?
change. You know what I'm
You
saying?
understand what I'm saying?
They was just
Because
still there, but hope
mhm,
sprang eternal.
those are the people who are not fair weather or bandwagoners. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? Those are the people who built the damn wagon.
Right.
You see what
Right.
I'm saying?
Right.
It's different from building a bus and a person who just used the bus to get from point A to point B. You
Right.
got people who built the motor. You got people who built the shocks. You got people who rotated them tires themselves.
Right.
Those are the people who are going to stay in those stands. Now, you got a lot of people who love to ride the wave. Some people have never looked at Jackson State until Deion Sanders got there. They were not going to the is it Celebration Bowl. They were not even going down there to the game. They wanted to see Deion Sanders live because of all of the hoopla. Remember, when power shifts, when you start dealing with media, media don't care if it's positive or negative. They just want people to be addicted to what they're talking about.
Right.
So if Coach Prime was a part of the main talking points of the weekend, guess what? They're going to use that notoriety to drive more money. The Mercedes-Benz Stadium made more money because Dion was in that building. You
Right.
know. Now you have some people who did go there for the football, and like I said before, if they were not invested in Jackson State, they wanted to see them win a game. And when they find out they didn't win a game, think about the people who don't care about the school, but they did put money on the school.
Right.
If I put money on a football game, I'm not going to sit and watch myself lose money. That's
Right.
torture. So
Right.
you have people who were not invested emotionally in Jackson State who were leaving.
Right.
They were invested a temporary financial investment. They left because they had to get on Cash App and send that payment before somebody come see them at the
Right.
bar.
Right.
You want to pay up
Right.
first,
Right.
So
And,
that's what I would
and
say.
and that is a part of sports. One of the things that I've thought is most interesting in the last couple of seasons with covering sports is that on the national programs, the ESPNs, on the Fox Newses, the NFL Lives, they give you the Vegas odds. They now broadcast booking uh, commercials
Hmm.
for
Hmm.
sports books.
Hmm.
So now, as far as the current game, if you are betting on the Bears and the Vikes in the background here on Guy Show Gridiron, live from the UGT, the
Right.
Vikings are up 10. I don't know if you bet the spread. I don't know if you bet just straight across. Let me ask you a personal question, bro. You ever gamble on sports? I mean, not to get the feds involved or nothing, but you ever place a friendly wager on sports?
Only time I did friendly wagers, I played fantasy football, and then it's a buy-in to fantasy
Hey,
football, and
hey,
hopefully, if I'm,
this a family show, bro. Don't get too deep with the fantasy stuff.
I
You know what I'm
know, I
saying?
know,
I
I
think
know
we
it, I
might
know
have
it, I
some
know it,
kids watching.
I know it,
Oh,
I
you
know
ain't
it.
talking about the
But
same
no,
kind of fantasy.
no,
Okay,
no, no,
my
no,
bad.
no, no, no,
That, my
no,
bad.
no. I'm talking about just assembling your own team. But I see what you're saying.
Right.
But but no, with me personally, no, I don't bet on sports, man, because people don't people like to get ghost, and people have lost friendships over it. So I try to not gamble on sports like that, and people get real personal with it. So I personally stay away from it, but that doesn't mean it's not fun to look at. So if that's what people are into, I support it, but I just
And
don't
now,
personally get into it.
um, one of the questions I asked, I posted uh, on my social media platforms back in November was, "Who taught you how to take an L?" Now, when surely as you compete, at some point you're bound to lose. How does one process that in a healthy way? I know my wife has one of her dear friends. They came from the game, and about
Hmm.
7:30, she turned in. Next morning, we're up having coffee, and she was like, "Look, I was just emotionally exhausted. How do
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
reset? What's the morale of a program going forward, of an individual? How do you shake that off?"
Um, when you're dealing with emotions, it's almost like saying, how can some of us not go off the deep end when we have a messy breakup? You really just don't know how much emotionally involved certain people are when it come down to other people and specifically sports. Like I told you earlier, I have an emotional attachment to football because football did a lot for me personally. So
Right.
when I watch a football game, if I'm really emotionally attached to it, I will invest my time and energy in it. Like I'll put like this: after the Falcons Super Bowl debacle, right, with the New England Patriots, I was sleepy for at least a minimum 11 days. I was just sleepy all the time, bro. Now I wasn't distraught going around to the point where I was mistreating other people,
Right.
but emotionally watching that slow car wreck, I like to call a Super Bowl. It was almost like, man, I'm gonna have to
Um,
take a break.
the one thing I remember from that moment had been on the road doing an annual event that I do. It's a ski trip with my people at
Hmm.
Set Network, and came back in town. My daughter's birthday is around the Super Bowl. We're sitting there watching it, and Atlantans are hyped. Oh, we in
Oh yeah,
Tom Brady. Kind of calm
emotionally.
down. And when it happened, of course, the lull fell over the house. But
Yeah.
the next day, just going through the city of Atlanta, everybody looked kind of catatonic. Like there was
Hmm.
like they didn't want to actually speak about it because that would be
Hmm. Hmm.
real. But I'm
Right.
sure it had to happen because it was on the TV. And
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
how do we go from here? And to see a collective affected
Right.
so uniform was
Right.
eerie to me. I mean, and
Hmm.
negatively affected. You know what I'm saying? There was nobody like, hey, I'm for the other team. It was all,
Hmm.
wow, I can't
Right.
believe what happened. And
Right.
in my mind, the Falcons have been suffering from New England itis ever since. They have if they can always come back and beat us, how does one that's a player shake Shador Sanders? Um,
Hmm.
Quarterback at Jackson State. Shiloh is the
Hmm.
cornerback playing the position that his father made famous. He's a Hall of Famer based
Hmm.
on that. How do those
Hmm.
players, when they're the ones that have been tapped to
Right.
bring us to the promised land, how do they reset and move forward?
Well, I put like this. I
Oh,
one
wait a
thing
minute.
that has
With the
helped.
added component that we let our daddy down too.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I put like this. I put like this. Some of us are fortunate enough to find out that we were born to do more to entertain other people with our bodies. Some of us. Now, unfortunately, you do have a lot of people who were told they were born to do it. And that's a heavy situation. And I'm going to tell you why. If somebody was told they were born to do something and all of a sudden it didn't work out in their favor, some people feel like they shouldn't be able to live. And that's how some people, it's hard for them to shake that. Fortunately, we do have a lot more people who are investing in the overall livelihood of young men and young women in other sports, but specifically football. You have people who are investing in them and letting them know that, hey, football is just an addition to your life, but football was not the sole reason why you were born on this planet. And hopefully now you have a lot of young people growing up that can balance out the sport versus the spirit they were given when they were born.
And
Hopefully.
and now, I hear what you're saying that football wasn't the reason I was born, but yeah, it kind of was. It wasn't it? I mean, like how, bro, as transparent as I can be, um,
Yeah.
I wouldn't know what a life of not being funny would be like. I've
Me neither.
always
Yeah.
been funny. Teachers would
Right.
say to me in elementary school, boy, you funny, but I'm going to flunk you. You know what I'm saying? You're going to keep on and I'm going to flunk you, but you make me laugh, that kind of
Right.
thing. Without
Right.
being funny, would I be the same person? So I can
Hmm.
imagine, and then that funny garnered me a level of uh, access and
Hmm.
resource that I
Hmm.
otherwise wouldn't have had. Um,
Hmm.
it made me what a lot of people hope to be popular, and
Hmm.
it puts money in my pocket and it affords me a quality of life and all of these things that now, like, on it's been a long time since I ain't been funny at a show.
Hmm.
But
Right.
on the night when the joke didn't land,
Right.
I was on the bridge. You know what I'm saying? Hey,
Right.
if you don't do it, just come back to me. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I was
Right.
that dude. It's some people would imagine it's easy to say, just get over it, but you ain't never played in a championship game.
Hmm.
Some people would
Hmm.
imagine it's easy to say, get over it, but you ain't never got booed at the Apollo. You see what I'm saying?
Right. 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 Yeah.
But
Nobody
you've
can
made your
tell you
life
that you.
about getting there.
Right. Nobody can tell anybody to get over it. It's hopefully people understand who they are as a human being and their place on the planet. That's what I'm saying. Because it's almost like this. If anything you give your life to, if I'm not in your shoes, I can't tell you what to do with it when somebody steals them.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? I
Right.
can't tell you, man, don't let that get you down. My job is to say, I understand you're down, but I need you to understand the holistic view of who you are as a human being. You know what I mean? Because some people are just destroyed. I mean, just being honest, when I couldn't play football anymore, my mother saw something in me to the point where she had to for me to go to college for me. I was not going to do it because I was that distraught because I thought I was going to the only way I could pay for college was through a football scholarship.
Right.
And I was so down that nobody could bring me up. She just said, I just need to get you out of the environment. I can't cheer you up, but I can get you to another place and let you know what you can do. My mother literally told me something that changed my life. She said, you won't be able to hit people with your body anymore, but you can hit people with your mind. And that's the main reason why I started this stuff.
Now,
Because, mhm.
no, go ahead. Finish.
No, because the way I attack problems that affect families and men specifically, women, children, organizations, and businesses, I blitz, I protect, I run routes. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I do a
Right.
lot of those different things that I learned from the sport of football, and I can't play it physically anymore, but I can play it mentally very well,
Now,
very well.
do you think, and this is uh, a callback to when you talked about parents willing to sell their children into slavery, a la
Mhm.
uh, to basically you physically gifted, you gonna play some sort of sport and make us rich and
Mhm.
famous. Um,
Mhm.
are we doing a disservice? Because there was a time when going to the HBCU wasn't about running and jumping and shooting and catching.
Right.
It was about academics because we couldn't get no book learning over there. So we
Mhm.
come
Mhm.
here. So we don't even need all of that. That's fine, but we don't really need that here. What we need
Mhm.
here is academics. We need people that are
Mhm.
going to be uplifting their community. They're going to be involved in their surroundings. Are we
Mhm.
doing these young men a disservice by focusing so much, especially while they're in school, in high
Right.
school,
Right.
in where if we looked at the general graduation rates of the regular high school kid, they might
Mhm.
not be that high. We look at the
Mhm.
graduation rates of some of these college athletes, they aren't that high. But
Right.
we'll push them into these areas to try and get them to the next level to make that money without
Mhm.
focusing on any of the academics with almost a tongue in cheek. Hey man, when you got money, you don't really need to, you can hire some people to count for you. You can hire people
Mhm.
to read. Um, what is our responsibility to the young African American athlete?
I would say honesty is the only policy, not the best policy. And I think on this conversation are mandatory when it comes down to um, like logistics of life, right? If we look at the sheer um, percentage of people who make it to professional sports, we have to understand that everybody in professional sports are not going to be on the field. You
Mm,
see what I'm saying?
right.
So I say, look, if you can make it in football, but you need to make it on and put yourself in a position where you can make it on every level. I say, look, some of y'all may not be able to play football, but some of y'all can actually go into exercise science where you can be a physical trainer. You could be a surgeon. You know, some of those people make just as much money as the people who run routes. The only thing you're doing is making sure you connecting certain tissue and ligaments in there.
Right.
You may have to put a pin in a person's foot. But if you got all the NFL players coming to you because you're so smart, you can help other people play on the field. There's so many different ways you can make money where you just being on the field sacrificing your body is not the only way. And I think it's just more of a balanced approach that I'm looking at. I don't think there's anything wrong with football. I think anytime when a family puts the child under so much pressure where, hey, you're 11-year old, you have to get us out of the ghetto. You are not supposed to tell a child that they're supposed to look out for everyone to get them out of poverty.
Right.
That's supposed to be a collective effort.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Right. But
So
now
when you
but now the rest of us don't run a 4-3, bruh. I'm saying I would like to help, but
put like
my
this,
shot off.
the issue is, remember, there are a lot of people who are selling their children into slavery to make a buck.
Right.
They're willing to put their children in situations where money can be made, not that put their children in their best position possible. They just want to make sure their child is in the best position where return on investment is a high probability. You see what I'm
Now,
saying?
with you saying that there was a lot of criticism about Travis Hunter, who just won the state 7A championship here in the Georgia area, in the Atlanta, Georgia area with Collins Hill. He is,
Hmm.
I believe, a the tight end that plays for Collins Hill. This young
Hmm.
man was committed to Florida State. He flipped, and a lot of the criticism was that he did it because of the NIL, the name, image, and likeness agreement, where he can
Hmm.
actually generate money right
Hmm.
now as a college
Hmm.
athlete to the tune of some 1.5, even rumored up as high as $2 million.
Good,
How
good. He
do
deserves it.
you tell a kid and
Hmm.
their family who's desperately in need that that's not the way to go? How do you keep a kid like that focused on academics and helping him understand that this money could be gone when you get out of college, but you can still hit them with your mind? How
I
do we
think
make sure we cement that in these apps?
I think it's the responsibility of the family to educate the child or the young man or the young woman about why they're in a situation where they're in dire need. Because if that football player has a family that has habits or decision making skills that are not above board,
Right.
they're going to get the money from him quicker than everyone else on the planet will. Some people have gone broke because of the family they're part of. So, as a lot of people don't understand that. So, I'm so serious
Right.
because
Now, about 3, 4 years ago, running back, I believe, might have been one of the first. He was a Heisman candidate. He might have won. Mark Ingram, out of
hmm.
University of Alabama.
Hmm.
Roll Tide, the year they won the national championship. He went
Right.
on to the NFL, and midway through the first season, he had to go snatch all the credit cards from his family, bro, and he
Hmm.
criticized that they wanted exactly what he had. You don't
Hmm.
play no ball. I drive a
Hmm.
Range Rover and a Porsche. You want a
Hmm.
Range Rover and a Porsche.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
you just sitting at the house every day. And
Hmm.
well, if he got one, then I want one. And we got 4, 5 people that I grew up in the house with, and they all want the same thing. Um,
Hmm.
the the mindset. We talk about the mindset all the time.
Right.
Are some families, are some communities, are some loved ones fractured because the money comes into play and we lose sight of what we're really supposed to be about?
Of course, because when you're dealing with money, you're dealing with power and access to resources. And
Right.
when you're dealing with power, you're automatically dealing with politics. And usually, when you're dealing with money, it will split up someone's family. I see it all the time.
Right.
And right now, politics is guaranteed. It's just some people are willing to play politics in a uplifting way to the point where just because I'm for my family doesn't mean I'm against you. And some people are in politics to make sure whoever is not with them suffers. That's what I like to call negative politics. Positive politics is I'm going to look out for my family first, and anybody else, you will have to wait until I get finished looking after my folks. That's positive politics.
Right.
Some people in politics say, I'm going to get me, then I'm going to get mine, then everybody else can go to hell. Or I'm gonna make life a living hell for you because you're not a part of my crew, my clique, or my family. So
And
yeah.
um, but before you go on, bro,
Hmm.
I often say that I'm all for things being the way that they could or should be. I
Right.
just meet them where they are. How
Hmm.
do you tell someone whose life experience has been keep your head on swivel, worry about
Hmm.
you and yours, and the rest of them can get themselves? How do you convince a person that that's a skewed perspective?
Hmm.
How do you
I
help
would.
them grasp that concept?
I'll do this. I even mentored a young man who ended up going to college. He's in the pros now. I always ask him, all right, if this happens, then what? I ask him to guide me through the next 5 years, step by step. And I put him in scenarios to the point where, okay, all right, somebody needs some money. What do you do? And tell me why you do it. Well, they've been there for me my whole life. Yes, they have. Now they need $20,000 in 2 days. What do you do? You see what I'm saying? And so he was like, but why would they need $20,000 in 2 days? I said, I know, right? so,
Right,
so
right. But
yeah.
but but
So
that
I
story, that scenario will come up.
that will come up. So what happens is it's not necessarily saving them from every scenario. It's preparing them for every scenario at this point. Where to the point where if I ask a young man what would he do in this scenario and he gives me an answer that's cookie cutter or not well thought out, that means he's personally not ready for that scenario. And if I know he's not ready for that scenario and I still send him out into the world, that means I just set him up for failure. So what does that young man do? Well, how would I approach him? I will put him in such a realistic mindset and realistic point of view. Put him through scenarios and see how he comes out, just like a football drill. See how he does against the blitz. But what if this blitz comes from your family?
Right.
What if this blitz comes from a young lady who snuck in your hotel room? You chilling with her. She had a couple of drinks, and all of a sudden now you're trying to figure out, well, is she really down for it? Do I know what to do? You know what I'm saying? Do I need to push up on her? Do I need to lay back? You need to know exactly what to do at every
Don't you
single
hate it
step of
when
the
that
way.
happens, bro? I
I,
mean,
I put it like this. I had to tell a young man, he's on the football team, and I had to tell him, and he didn't understand this. I said, hey, if alcohol is involved, consent is not involved. He was
dip
like, what you mean? She brought the alcohol. I said, if she brought the alcohol, she is now 4 years old. And he was
you,
like,
bro.
what? I said,
When
hey,
when in doubt, say you gay, bro. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? Just get out of
You still there?
first with a vampire. I tell young men all the time, control their emotions.
Hmm.
Really quick on the game in the background here
Yeah,
on
go
God
ahead.
Show live from the Underground Treehouse with my man Chris Pugh. The
Yeah.
Bears are 3 points to Minnesota's 10 points. You
Okay.
just spoke of speaking to gentlemen about hypothetical situations, almost
Yes.
like
Yeah.
dream.
Yeah.
Let's look into the future. Say um, 2024, 2025,
Hmm.
Jackson State's got a couple national black championships.
Hmm.
One or two of the players and gone off to the NFL. And Coach Prime says, you know what? I'm finally willing to take my place as the head coach of said other school that happens to be um, a power, whatever, and this
Hmm.
will this adulation, will this focus be gone from black college football?
I don't think it'll be gone. I think people will use, if he exits to go to a Power Five after he did that, a lot of people will be licking their chops to use that as a reason not to go to HBCUs. Other people will say, look what he started. We need to keep that momentum because he's not going to be, no one coaches forever. You see what I'm saying? I think, a lot of people look at his presence at Jackson State as a wake up call to say, hey, look, y'all, we can do this. Even if he doesn't coach another game, look what he did in a year. Now
Right.
we need to ask everybody else to do it. It could be a possibility instead of just expecting Dion to save us. Because honestly, we
There's got to
can't
be a
save
taking up the
it.
mantle.
Right. But this
Right.
is the thing. A lot of people with a lot of power can't save anyone, but they can show everyone. See, Dion cannot change minds. He can open them. But if some people are there because of the wrong reasons, man, you could waste a lot of your years trying to change people's minds. Dion just said, okay, you said it couldn't happen. You said someone from the league couldn't go to HBCU and do it. I did it. He can go home tomorrow and no one can erase what he did this year. It's
Um,
up to who he showed it to see what we can do in spite of.
Now, with all of the influx of dollars that are coming into these HBCUs, being
Mm-hmm.
added to the HBCU experience, the cities that these schools are located in, and their collective surrounding areas. Should we be involved in where those dollars go? When the Atlanta Falcons built the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, one of the things
Mm-hmm.
that they mandated was that the area around the stadium, which was uh, historical Atlanta, but
Mm-hmm.
long since dilapidated. They
Mm-hmm.
mandated that there has to be money pumped into the revitalization of these historically uh, minority neighborhoods.
Mm-hmm.
Should the alumni, should the sports fans that are pouring this money in be directly involved in what they do with it at the university?
I would say yes. I think a lot of people have to know what's needed. But one thing I've noticed in my years on this earth, it's hard to make people care about something that does not affect them personally. It's just difficult. It's not impossible. It's just difficult. A lot of people are wondering what's in it for them. People go to the games because the games make them energized. It make them excited. It's fun. It's recreation. I pay my ticket because it giving me an emotional ride.
Right.
But now, if I'm trying to rebuild that dilapidated house that's right across the street from Morris Brown or right across the street from Morehouse, I don't benefit from that because I don't hang out over there. So it's hard to make people change their perspective on something that doesn't personally benefit them. However, depending on who you are, you can actually join their personal interest to a social cause. And if you can do that, you can create change very, very quickly. It depends on
Right.
who's doing it. But you got to have the gift of gab. You have to have a marketing mindset. And you do have to be able to understand people. Because if you need people to put their money and their dollars in order to create change, people always want to know what's in it for them. And if you can tie what's in it for them to a greater cause, I think you'll have your answer right then and there.
I want to thank you, bruh. Ladies and gentlemen, Chris Pugh, CEO of Manhood Mindset,
So,
just a good friend of mine, awesome dude, willing to help out a guy like myself, man, with aspirations. Before I go, bro, you talked about how football impacted your life. We've talked
hmm
about the economic impact, both positive and negative, on these athletes who play these high-profile sports. We've talked about the progression of the programs and the institutions that implore these sports for
hmm
profit. Um, if you had to give one piece of advice to the a piece of advice that both player, the people supporting the program,
hmm
and the possibilities going forward. If you
hmm
had one piece of advice that a common thread that could run through all of those, what would it be?
I would tell everyone that life itself is a team sport and a contact sport. We need more than ourselves to get anything done, and we have to be in contact with each other. Now, either you got two choices. You either gonna contribute or you're gonna conflict. The choice is yours. But when it comes down to really doing things that we can do with each other that's going to create positive change, it is up to us to create that change. We can't just sit and wait for something to happen in order for us to be happy.
Right.
We can't just base our action on an emotion. You know, it doesn't make me feel good, so I won't do it. I'll put it like this: I would not be in the position where I'm at if I didn't have family, coaches, mentors that did things that they didn't feel like doing just so I could have a chance. And that's the reason why I do mentoring and consult families because I understand how a functional, not necessarily perfect and ideal family, but the bare minimum functional family can elevate someone to their highest heights. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I would just say, man, life is a team sport. Choose your team wisely and play together.
Outstanding, bro. Q, I really, I every time we get together, my one um, continuous regret is that we never have enough time
For
to
sure.
spend together. I could spend all of my time with you, bro, but I know that we both have responsibilities that
Most
we
definitely.
both are obligated to get done, even as we are doing this. I want to thank you for joining me tonight
I mean, it's a
for
pleasure.
Monday night football guy show, Gridiron Edition with the
Mm-hmm.
Minnesota Vikings and the Bears. Right now, the score is 10-3. I want to thank
Mm-hmm.
you for helping me to unravel some of the mystery that is
Mm-hmm.
how big time athletics affects the African American athlete, fan,
Mm-hmm.
school, collective. Because as I said,
Mm-hmm.
I cover sports all the time, but I rarely saw it have that
Mm-hmm.
type of effect up close like
Oh
this
yeah.
did. And it opened my eyes, and you helped me to wrap my mind around a greater understanding of that
Mm-hmm.
process. So, to everyone who is watching right now, if you're not already following Chris Pugh, make sure you follow him at Manhood Mindset on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of your other platforms that you're on, bro? And tell us what you got coming up.
Definitely. So I have I appreciate that, man. So first of all, just congratulations on everything that you got going on, and thank you for the
Thanks, bro.
invitation. This
Thanks.
is
You were
very
here for the first one, so you know I thank you and I appreciate that, sir.
got you. So a manhood mindset is basically a consulting approach to functional relationships between everyone with a heartbeat, man. Business owners, family members, men, women, children, elders, anybody who wants to move forward in life and play that team sport we call life in a more functional way. I can help. I help organizations, businesses, teams, anybody who wants to understand effective communication skills, conflict resolution, self-respect, and social emotional learning. All of that, all of those different things. People can reach out to me on Instagram and Twitter under Manhood Mindset. I just joined TikTok the other day. A friend of mine said, "Hey, you
Bruh,
need to be
you
on
on
TikTok."
TikTok?
Bruh, trust me, I'm not against TikTok. I'm not finna dance because it's gonna get strange.
Bruh, I was about to
I
say
don't,
if you dance, I'ma wood you up, bruh.
nah, bruh.
I'm gonna
I've
have
been
to
telling
give
you this.
you some wood, bruh.
I've listened to too much Good and Mob. I don't dance no more. All I
No,
do is
no,
this.
no, no. All
All I
we
do
do
is
is
this.
this. You see what I'm
Yes,
saying? And that's why
yes,
I kind of, because you're guilty by association. I get
yeah, I
on
know
TikTok and somebody think I be, pow, pow.
it.
You know what I'm saying?
No,
Popping my thighs.
no,
I'm not a thigh
no,
popper, bruh. So you got to
no,
be
no,
real
no.
careful with that kind of thing.
Only thighs I flip on the grill. So I go on TikTok and film myself grilling.
And
That's the
your
only
brother got
thighs you'll
leg
see.
quarters. You got thighs on the grill. If we
Exactly.
don't do nothing else, we gonna eat good, ain't we, bruh?
Exactly. So, and last but not least, you can reach out to me on Facebook under Christopher Pugh, and people can go directly to my website, manhoodmindset.com, just to inquire about the business, what I do. Reach out to me right now. I have clients over the Christmas holiday and at the beginning of the year. I do personal consulting for people who are going through rough situations at their job. A lot of people are going through messy divorces. They want to get through a divorce without going to jail or getting on the news. You got a lot of people who are
Woo,
trying to figure out if you
woo,
got a lot of people because
woo.
I'm not one of those people that think everybody's supposed to be together. I want people to safely grow
Amen.
apart.
Say that. Say that.
I'm
Sometimes
serious,
peace comes with
right?
solitude. Uh,
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
thank you so much. If you're not already following him, follow him. I want to
Yeah.
thank all of you for watching. My personal friends like Rodney Perry and my girl Yolanda,
Hmm.
better known as Nappy social media influencer, also a
Right.
consultant for Guys Show, helping me with
Cool.
branding. I want to thank partners of Guys Show, Matt
Hmm.
Advo. I want to thank Set Network and remind everybody that the annual Set Network Urban Ski Festival is coming up. We got my man Bobby Valentino coming. We got
Hmm.
DJ Luke Nasty. You'll have yours truly officiating over the comedy show. The
Right.
details of the headline of the comedy show to come. I might have a doctor that's an educator come and do some comedy with me. But,
That's
you
real.
know, all of
That's real.
that's going to take some financial negotiations.
I
And
got you.
I know I might have to, you know, sell a kidney or something to get Chris to come and perform with us. So, once again, to everyone who participated with us tonight, live from the Underground Treehouse, it was Guy Show time, Guy Show Gridiron Edition.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Chris Pugh. Thank you, all of our watchers, all of our viewers, all of
Yeah.
our followers. Thank you for your comments and your participation. And I hope to see you next Monday night for
Mm-hmm.
Guy Show Gridiron. Go Bears. And y'all have a wonderful night, man. Peace.
That's real, man. Much love, man. Rue.
Through.